What is up, guys? This is Orca Flop, and today I'm coming at you with another video. And today I'm going to be reviewing the 2019 Auto Club 400 that took place yesterday. And before I begin the review, I want to apologize for the crappy recording, because I had recording issues with my laptop and phone. So I guess I have to resort to my iPad, which is not the best camera quality ever. I mentioned it on Twitter. Because of that issue, I had to push my review to today. So, hope you guys can don't mind that. And I guess let's get straight into it. So, the race started with the most gimmicky style of qualifying ever. And it began with Austin Dillon and Kevin Harvick being on the front row, when none of them really made a lap at the end of qualifying. So, Austin Dillon was basically handed the pole to him. So he started off the field, and we went green. There was like 4 or 5 wide, I want to say, at the very beginning of the race. You had Austin Dillon battling for the lead, and for third with Stenhouse. You had Almirola go to the lead. Hamlin went to the lead. Harvick was there as well. Logano was battling there. There was some good battling on the restart, on the initial start. But then Kyle Busch kind of rocketed to the lead and, held the lead for the rest of stage one. And as soon as Kyle Busch got into the lead, it kind of was a cycle of Kyle Busch continuing to lead laps and lead laps and lead laps. And then we got to green flag pit stops. Nothing really changed except for the fact that Kyle Busch just tried to stay out a little bit longer so he had a little bit fresher tires than the cars behind him, which only really made him faster. So, that being said, he ended up still being the fastest car on the track, even though he pitted later, and he still managed to hold, I believe it was like a 2-second lead over Denny Hamlin. So, yeah, that was pretty interesting, because Hamlin was closing for like a little bit, but then, of course, dirty air kicked in, and he wasn't able to close in that much. But towards the end of stage one, your pole sitter, Austin Dillon, ended up blowing a right rear tire, bringing out the caution, because there was debris all over the track, and NASCAR decided to throw the yellow because of Austin Dillon cutting a right front tire. So that's Goodyear's first tire failure of the race. And that brought a yellow out, and some drivers opted to stay out. Some decided to go in. I believe Hamlin, Stenhouse, and Clint Bowyer stayed out. Clint Bowyer was missing a cylinder, apparently. He seemed to get really slow as the run went on, and his car was just bad this entire race, and just only got worse. So they decided to stay out. Kyle Busch still got ahead of Logano, Keselowski, Harvick, Almirola, and everyone else. So we go green, and Hamlin takes the lead, but eventually Kyle Busch passes Hamlin for the lead, and Stenhouse gets sucked through the middle, gets sideways, and spins out in turn 2, also having Truex and Kyle Larson collide, as well as William Byron making a massive maneuver to dodge Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and not hit him. Therefore, that allowed William Byron to get no damage on his car, even though he really didn't have the best car, but it was still a very close call nonetheless. But, of course, when can something go right for me? Martin Truex Jr. gets right rear quarter panel damage. And that pretty much killed all the aerodynamics he had, and he was climbing up as well as Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch, I believe, was, 7th at this point? Him and Kurt Busch were climbing up through the positions, and they were very fast. It seemed like Truex probably had the car to beat Kyle Busch. And, of course, because when can something go good, he collides with Kyle Larson, and his car ends up getting destroyed in the right rear. And Kyle Larson hit the wall, got some damage, was never really fast throughout the whole race, and kind of never got any faster. In fact, he probably got slower. So, yeah, that happened. So, yeah, at the end of stage one, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., because he took no tires, he spun out. So, and, people were complaining that, Truex was complaining too much. How are you not going to complain when someone who takes no tires spins out right in front of you and you have nowhere to go? Of course you're going to be mad. Can't really say that. Anyway, we go into state, and therefore, because the caution came out after that one-lap dash NASCAR wanted to do, since Austin Dillon's caution came out at around 4 or 5 to go, I want to say, and then NASCAR had they did the one-lap dash, and that's what led to the wreck. So, in the end, they ended it under caution, and Kyle Busch ended up winning stage 1. So, I'll get onto this later, but, Kyle Busch is going for his 200th win. I'll say that much. If you don't, probably what's going on in NASCAR right now. At this point, Kyle Busch, Of course, I'm recording this after the race, obviously, so I'm not going to spoil it right now. But Kyle Busch at this point was going for his 200th overall win, and he kind of was very aggressive throughout the entire race. So then stage 2 started as pit road happened, I guess. Truex got to repair his car a little bit. So did Kyle Larson. Chase Elliott was slowly moving up as he had like a top 10 car. Eric Jones moved up to 6th getting out of pit road. And I believe Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano also moved up on pit road. Harvick was still there, so was Almirola. Denny Hamlin started to fall back a little bit because his car wasn't as good in the dirty air. So Kurt Busch ended up moving up to 5th, getting out of pit road. So we restart the race, and Kyle Busch ends up taking the lead immediately to begin stage 2 after having a little battle with Logano. And stage 2, nothing really happened aside from the fact that Daniel Hemrick also blew a right rear and around the same spot Austin Dillon did. So that's good. Your second tire failure of the race. Except NASCAR didn't throw a yellow because they felt that there wasn't a lot of debris. So Hemrick was able to make it back to pit road and get new tires and fix the damage he had. So, yeah. And then stage 2, nothing really happened for the rest of the time. And during green flag pit stops, again, Kyle Busch did the strategy of staying out for a while other drivers, went in earlier to see if they could beat Kyle Busch on a pit road. And it nearly happened as Keselowski was about 10 seconds behind Kyle Busch. But when Kyle Busch exited pit road, he's really good at that, so Keselowski was not able to close in enough. Oh, what the hell. Sorry, I had a little bit of an issue there with the recording again, but yeah. So, basically, Kyle Busch stayed in the lead in stage 2, and Keselowski was never really able to close on him, even though he got so much momentum getting off of turn 2, and so Kyle Busch was still trying to get up to speed getting up pit road, but Adam Stevens and Kyle Busch played the right call, and it kind of worked out in their favor, so what you going to do? Kyle Busch ended up cruising to a stage 2 victory. Nothing happened really after that, so what can you do, I guess? Kyle Busch sweeps the stages at Auto Club, obviously having the fastest car aside from probably Truex. But, of course, if Truex didn't get in that wreck with Stenhouse, we'd probably have a different story. But, God damn it. Anyway, but Truex actually climbed up to 15th at this point. Yeah, for those of you who think Truex has no talent, how come he's able to take a damaged race car and put it in the top 15? Explain that to me. Anyway, so, and this is probably the shades of the Xfinity race, if you know what I'm talking about, as we went into pit road. Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, and basically everyone else went into pit road, took their usual 4 tires because you can't really do a 2-tire strategy at Auto Club. And Kyle Busch got a penalty for being too fast exiting. I was cheering, I was happy, and it caused a lot of turmoil for the Kyle Busch fans. But I was gladly happy when he got the speeding penalty because I would allow Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano and Kevin Harvick to obtain the lead. And Kyle Busch was really upset over the radio. This really played a huge factor in the race because Kyle Busch now had to start in the rear. And then we went green. Brad Keselowski took the lead on Joey Logano, but then Logano ended up taking the lead back from Brad Keselowski. Those two seemed to battle a little bit during stage 2, especially the restart after stage 2. And then in stage 3, like I said, I didn't mean stage 2, I meant stage 3. Logano and Keselowski were battling a lot. And over the course of stage 3, Kyle Busch was making his way up all to 6th at this point as he made some daring moves on Paul Menard and William Byron on Truex. He made a lot of aggressive moves, especially on the front stretch, because you can do that at Auto Club. So it's no surprise Kyle Busch would try hard that much. And over the course of pit stops, this is where I started to speculate things a little bit, because it seemed over the course of pit stops, as soon as Logano and Keselowski went to pit road, Kyle Busch stayed out doing the staying out a little bit longer strategy. He ended up getting to the lead, but then Bubba Wallace had another tire failure. That's 3 tire failures for you, Goodyear. Congratulations. So Bubba had a tire failure, except this time this was his right front. And it was again the same spot where Daniel Hemrick and Austin Dillon blew their tires. So that brought out the caution because there was debris on turns 1 and 2. And guess what? That played out perfectly into Kyle Busch's favor because he was able to go into pit road under caution, get the 4 tires, and still be in third at least. So Kyle Busch gained track position off that caution. And it just seems weird to me that the fact that they didn't throw a yellow for Hemrick having a tire failure basically the exact same way, but they had thrown a yellow for Bubba Wallace when he had a tire failure. I don't know if it was a more debris thing, but either way, the debris cautions are gimmicky. So once again, the caution worked perfectly into Kyle Busch's favor, and Brian Blaney opted to stay out, as well as Kurt Busch, who was up to 4th at this point. Another great run for Kurt Busch. I'll get on to him a little bit later. Truex was up to 11th, I want to say, with a damaged race car, so Truex was still having a great run. And we went green for stage 2, and Ryan Blaney got a bad restart. However, Brad Keselowski was able to side draft Kyle Busch going into turn 1 and 2 and take the lead, as well as Logano taking second from Kyle Busch. I remember Kurt Busch was trying to battle with Kyle Busch for like 2 laps, trying to hold him off. Harvick didn't really try at all. He just didn't really have the car, I guess, to fend off Kyle Busch. But then, this is basically where Kyle Busch would get everything played into his favor, if you know what I mean. Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano were battling down the backstretch really hard and throughout the next 2 laps. And they battled so hard it was allowing Kyle Busch to catch up. And on the backstretch, Kyle Busch whipped around both Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano and took the lead. And this is where the depression kicks in because nothing happened for the rest of stage 3 aside from Logano constantly trying to catch Kyle Busch at the end. But it didn't work. And in the end, Kyle Busch was in the clean air, was pulling from Logano. And Kyle Busch gets his 200th win. Kyle Busch wins at Auto Club Speedway. This is his second win of the season, third win for JGR. Kyle Busch now gets 2 wins in a row as he won at ISM last week and now Auto Club this week. And Kyle Busch hit that remarkable 200 wins, which is bullshit. So, let me just get on a little tangent here. A lot of people have been making this controversy, especially since Fox has started talking about it, that Kyle Busch is the new king of NASCAR since he's now tied with Richard Petty's wins. God forbid Kyle Busch passes up Richard Petty. In quotes, I say that. Look, Kyle Busch got the majority of his wins in the Xfinity Series and Truck Series. In fact, he won an Xfinity Series championship in 2009, being the Leech, back when Leeches were able to race for points. How that stings. Kyle Busch has 53 Cup wins, 94 Xfinity wins, and I want to say 27 Truck wins, or 52 Truck wins, 94 Xfinity wins, and 53 Cup wins. 36% of those wins come from Xfinity. I'm talking about the 200 wins. 36 come from Xfinity. 10% come from Cup. And 27% come from trucks. Do you see the balance I'm talking about here? Kyle Busch has won more races in trucks and Xfinity than he has Cup. Now, do I respect Kyle Busch for being the good driver he is in Cup and hitting 53 wins? Absolutely. I believe that Kyle Busch is a very good driver that has proved himself and is probably one of the top 10 drivers in the modern era because he's been able to get 53 Cup wins, which either way is a huge milestone. So, genuinely, that is impressive for Kyle Busch to do. What's not impressive is how Kyle Busch has, for the last 10 years, been going down to the lower series and beating the shit out of basically little kids. And that being said, it feels as though there's a bit of a rupture in Kyle Busch's 200 wins. For the matter of fact, that Richard Petty got his 200 wins all in the Cup Series. He had 4 convertible wins, so technically he has 204 wins. But either way, he has 200 wins in the Cup Series. Kyle Busch's 200 wins have come overall because they decided to count Xfinity and Truck Series. Kind of seems like NASCAR is a bit desperate for a headline, doesn't it? So, yeah. Kyle Busch, I'm just going to say this right now. I've been saying this since, 2012? You're not impressive when you're literally taking the best car or truck in the field. Sorry about that. And it's not impressive when you take the best truck or car in Xfinity or to the Truck Series and you beat inexperienced drivers that are still developing their skills in NASCAR. it's not fair, and I get it. You're leeching because of sponsors. You need to have those deals. But at the same time, they shouldn't be counting those wins, considering the fact that you've had beaten unfair competition to them. To them, it's unfair competition because they're not totally developed drivers yet. So how in the shit are they going to be able to defend Kyle Busch, who is a champion in the Cup Series and has 53 Cup wins? Um, yeah, leeching is a problem. And I'm not just saying that towards Kyle Busch. I mean Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Chase Elliott, what Kevin Harvick stopped at least. But you know what I mean. Leeching is a problem in the lower series because it gives an unfair opportunity to the regulars. Thank God Dash for Cash is coming up so the regulars actually get a chance to win. So yeah, Kyle Busch's 200 wins is a flaw, and the media, thank God, is starting to shut up about it, but I feel like the Kyle Busch fans need to pump the brakes here. Is he a good Cup driver? Absolutely. But his 200 wins have mainly come from Trucks and Xfinity with unfair competition. That's kind of bullshit, if you ask me. So, I just want to put this out there. Kyle Busch will never be Richard Petty. Richard Petty was the greatest driver of his era, and he was able to get 200 wins and 7 championships in the Cup Series. So Richard Petty is going to be the king forever, most likely. He's going to be the king forever because that's such a hard milestone to achieve. It's basically going to stay there. So Kyle Busch will never be Richard Petty, and nobody should be pretending that he is Richard Petty because it is an unfair comparison that is unjustified. So wanted to get that out of the way. That's a little bit of a, rant, I guess, except no screaming. Two other things I want to talk about. For the last 2 weeks, Goodyear has been absolutely terrible as they brought a new right side tire compound here at Auto Club, and clearly it proved to be unreliable as 3 drivers ended up blowing tires on the right side mainly, and the tires would wear out very fast. So once again, Goodyear stumps themselves. I'm waiting for you, Michelin. Michelin, if you're there, just talk to me. I'll, just talk to Jim France or whatever. Please come to NASCAR. I'm so sick of Goodyear. I remember we used to have Hoosier back in the 90s. There used to be a tire war between Hoosier and Goodyear back in 94. Why couldn't have Hoosier stayed in the sport instead of Goodyear? So, yeah, Goodyear's very unreliable tire. Just waiting for a new tire manufacturer. I might make a whole different video on that, but that's a bit of a subtopic. The aero package, I don't know what to say about it. It's kind of hard to describe. It felt similar to last year in the sense that you had pretty much the same amount of passing as last year. But again, it seemed like the leader was very hard to pass, and, the clean air was still especially the big deal. So, did it make restarts better? Sure. Did it apply a bit of tandem drafting? Sort of. Yeah, at the beginning of runs it did, but in the end, no one really wanted to work with each other, so now you never really saw much drafting. So it felt a lot like last year's, except it did seem a lot slower as they were topping out at 180. So, oof, I wish the cars were faster and more horsepower. So yeah, the aero package proved to be very similar to last year. Didn't see that much of a difference, aside from the fact that you could draft early on, and the fact that there was a lot more passing. I'll give it that. But in the end, the leader was still hard to catch, no matter how far you are from him. The clean air is still God because of the splitter. So NASCAR could just get rid of the goddamn splitter, add the valence on the Gen 6 car, and get rid of side force. It'd be fine, but they don't want to do that. So the new aero package, again, I don't like talking about it every single week, especially since it's not going to matter next week at Martinsville. But it just seemed like it was all too similar to last year, as we've seen. At least I feel like this new aero package has done next to the opposite of what everyone has expected it to do, which is being more like Daytona and Talladega. Instead, it's been like your average Auto Club race, your average Phoenix race, your average Las Vegas race. Haven't seen much of a change. So, aero packages feels like the same to me. So, but yeah, that's about it for me. My personal rating on this race, I gave the race a 6 out of 10 because I feel like there was a lot of passing in the back. It was cool to see Truex work his way up. It was very interesting to see. There was good battles in the back, so that's what made it entertaining to me. Granted, the fact that the leader was still unbeatable, But, there was a lot of passing in the back, and I think that's what made it entertaining for me. And the restarts were good, too. The battle between Logano and Keselowski was entertaining. The restarts were very entertaining for me. So I personally gave the race a 6 out of 10 because I feel like there was more passing there than last year. But at the same time, though, I'm trying to be more positive, and I've thought about it. I mean, yeah, Auto Club's never been a good track, but, I feel like this race was better than last year's race. I mean, not by as far margin, but it was better. So, yeah, Auto Club, it was a decent race. I thought there was a lot of passing. It's just a matter of if, anyone could catch Kyle Busch, it'd be a lot better. So, I believe the finishing order, Kurt Busch, I also wanted to talk about. This is his, 5th top 10 or something like that? He is making that one car look amazing right now. The consistency Kurt Busch has already shown is outstanding. He's 9th in points right now from the consistent top 5s and top 10s alone this season. So, props to Kurt Busch. A lot of people have not really been talking about him, but that would be my friend Dade's favorite driver. He's having a really consistent season so far in that one car. And who knows, if this continues to lead, Kurt Busch could be a secret championship contender, or he could get a multi-year deal like Ganassi. Kyle Busch won the race. Logano finished second. Brad Keselowski finished third. Kevin Harvick finished fourth. Fifth was Ryan Blaney, I believe. And then sixth was Kurt Busch. And then from there on out, I know Truex finished eighth. Yeah, how about Truex able to wind his way back up to a top 10 with a damaged race car? Truex is probably one of the most talented drivers in NASCAR right now. I'm not even saying that because I'm a biased Truex fan, but it was really cool to see my boy Truex get a top 10 nonetheless with a damaged race car. Erik Jones finished 19th or something. He was good on the short runs, but over the course of a long run, he was just bad. Hendrick was bad again. Chevy in general was bad, except for Kurt Busch carrying the Chevy badge, being once again the best Chevy in the field. So that's about it. I gave the race a 6 out of 10. Kyle Busch hits 200 wins. That's bullshit. But nonetheless, though, congrats to Kyle Busch on winning 2 in a row at Auto Club. He got his 53rd Cup win. Congrats. So yeah, Kyle Busch, I believe, is now in the points leader since he's won 2 in a row. Yeah, so congrats to Kyle Busch on winning Auto Club. You're not 200 wins. You're not Richard Petty. Shut the fuck up, Rowdy fans. Sorry, but he'll never be Richard Petty. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments section, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.